Around 13 years old, living in rural Ohio. Live in a 2-story house in a neighborhood bordering a forest. Sleeping in the living room on the couch because I fell asleep watching TV. Wake up at around 2 in the morning because I'm thirsty. Noticed TV turned off while I was asleep, along with the lights, but too tired to really think anything about it. Walked into kitchen, got cup of water, and walked back into the living room. As I walked back into the living room, I noticed a figure standing in the window. Real tall, lanky-looking thing. If I was awake enough, I'd probably have freaked out. However, I'm real tall and lanky-looking too, so I thought it was my reflection in the window at first. I realized it wasn't my reflection because it didn't correspond with my movements. When this happened, I began to feel like something's off. My eyes adjusted to the darkness, and I noticed this figure is pretty much completely bald, plus his arms were a lot longer than mine. Also, its eyes were completely black, pretty much the description of the typical gray alien. Get real nervous but afraid to move quickly for fear of startling the thing. Walked backwards slowly into the kitchen again to grab a large kitchen knife. Walked slowly back into the living room again and noticed the thing had disappeared. TV blares to life again and startles me. Lights turn back on. Not completely sure whether or not it was a person, an alien, my reflection, or a figment of my tired imagination, so I don't mention it to my parents in the morning. However, I did start sleeping upstairs after this, thinking that the thing would be too weak to climb up the roof to startle me again.
Be 11 or 12. Live in a 3-bedroom house with my family. My room was converted from an office. Have huge windows the size of the entire wall. Have no damn door. Have to use a thin curtain for privacy. Room is farthest in the house from any other rooms. Have to walk through the kitchen and living room to get to another room. Wake up one night because I hear an odd scraping noise. Can't sleep due to stupid noise. Assume it's my sister's because of the light in the living room. Get out of bed and walk into the kitchen to see what's going on in the living room. Glass door leading to the backyard was open, and the window next to it both had this odd glow. A soft kind of greenish tint to it. Not bright, but made it bright enough to see. Step out of the kitchen to get a better look when I see it. Standing there next to my mother's china cabinet looking into it. Tall, with elongated arms standing kind of slouched over. Had long and disproportionate features. Stand frozen looking at it 5 to 6 feet away. Slowly start to walk past it, trying to be quiet. It suddenly stands straight up, towering over the cabinet, and turns to look at me. Become absolutely mortified and shocked, because I first assumed it was a person. Its eyes looked into mine as if it was concerned. It fucking reached for me. I screamed and ran past it, barely out of its reach. I run down the hall and banged as hard as I could on my parents' door because it was locked. Light fades away as I scream and go into a panic attack. Dad opens the door with a baseball bat and runs into the living room. Nothing there. My dad found the back door open that night and was kind of freaked out himself. The next day when I was at school, an officer and therapist approached me to question me about what had happened, thinking it was a burglar. But no one believed me, of course.
Hey/X/. This isn't some bullshit creepypasta that I wrote. This is real shit that has been happening to me for fucking years now, and it's just picked up a lot worse. I have this pre-typed, and I'm going to upload as fast as 4chan lets me. If anyone knows what the fuck I'm dealing with, can you please fucking help? I'm 18 years old. I live in the countryside, somewhere in North Carolina, because the rent is cheap and my parents live about 3 miles away. I'm enrolling in my community college next semester. I'm pretty much antisocial as hell, and I don't have many friends. Never in my life have I ever done any drugs to induce anything I may be hearing, seeing, or feeling. When I was 13, my mother says I would go to my window in the middle of the night and have conversations with things that weren't there. I would talk about my life, and I would tell my mother about it. When I was 14, my mother and my father claims I would go outside in freezing weather in nothing but sweatpants and a t-shirt and stand in the yard staring into the sky. When I was 16, I was found in my school's bathroom with glass in my right hand. It turned out that I had smashed out the window, screaming out something along the lines, "No one can save you. He will find you. He will eat your family." At the nurse, and I had no recollection of it. Anyways, about 6 months ago, I was in my house, playing some stupid shit on the PC. I think it was CS:GO. Haven't slept in about 30 hours or so, and it was about 11 a.m. I heard a tapping at my window, but I just ignored it like it was nothing. I assumed winds were blowing harsh, and it was causing the tree by my window to keep hitting it. After I was finished with my match, it wouldn't stop at all. Being the paranoid pussy with anxiety that I am, I didn't look, and instead I went to the kitchen to grab a knife. I went back to my room and sat on my bed and started watching TV. After a while, I began to hear footsteps in my house and occasional whispering. I flipped the hell out and called my friend, Matt, on a voice/video call, and I started to cry. I asked if he could pick me up, and he was nice enough to do so. Matt even said I could even stay the weekend. When I heard him honk, I dropped the knife and ran from my room, through the hall, and out the front door. I didn't even bother packing or turning anything off. I got in his car, he comforted me, and I went to his house. While he was driving, in the density of the woods that the countryside has, I saw some fucker hiding behind the trees. He looked about 7 foot 1 inches and had extremely gray skin and had no hair at all. He wore clothes like a homeless person. They were rugged and dirty. I only saw him for a few seconds before he was out of my field of view in the car. When I got to my friend's house, we chilled out, watched some movies, snuggled, and slept in the living room together. Overall, the weekend went great, and I decided to go back home on Sunday. He came with me, and we hung out at the house for a bit, and even went from room to room checking for anything. He left after about an hour or so, and I stayed at the house myself. The day resumed as normal. Approximately 2 months later, or 4 months ago, I decided to go for a walk to the gas station to get an energy drink. I don't remember the time, but I remember that it was dark. It was anywhere from 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. Anyways, I began to hear footsteps behind me on the side of the road. I kept looking back, but saw nothing. After a while, it got progressively worse, and I started to feel sick and dizzy. I began to run as fast as I could, and I was too afraid to turn back. I heard the footsteps pick up pace, and I fell to the ground. All I remember was that all I heard was ringing in my ears from the fall and a really fuzzy view of the guy I saw in the woods, but he didn't have any clothes on. I woke up on my front porch wrapped in my blanket. All of my belongings were still in my pockets. When I got back into my house, I saw that my legs were literally covered in scratches. Little baby scratches, but it was covered in them. I decided to set up a borrowed video camera at my front door and sit and wait. Nothing happened after multiple recording sessions, but I woke up every other night with my front door wide open. About 3 months ago, my friend Ashley had mentioned something about how she kept seeing a little boy with grayish skin and no hair who would walk up and down her street at night. Considering that the humanoid that I have seen had grayish skin and no hair, I grew curious of what she told me. She told me of multiple accounts of when she had also seen the gray man with the gray boy. Although I have never seen the gray man and the gray boy, I believe her. She had also told me that on one occasion, she opened her window and saw him tapping on the glass. About a week ago, I woke up to see the gray man in my bathroom. He had no clothes or anything, and his eyes almost glowed a dull gray in the dark, as odd as it may seem. I honestly don't know how. Looking at him up close was so fucking morbidly scary. I literally pissed and shit myself. His skin was really wrinkly, and he had elongated yellow teeth. That's about all I can remember. Earlier today, I came home to find all of my doors locked and windows closed. I had to break in with a screwdriver. When I walked into the front door, I saw that my entire fucking living room was rearranged. Nothing was missing. It was just rearranged, oddly enough. I'm going into the woods next Friday night, /X/. I'm bringing my .44 camera and Ashley to the woods. Whatever that thing is, I want to fucking find out. Even now I can hear footsteps in the fucking bathroom. I swear to fucking God.
South Carolina/K/Commando here. Where are you in North Carolina? Fuck a .44, I'll come up with my AK.
Are you anywhere near the Chodga Lodge?
The red with the circle is the general area where I live. The purple is Chaga Lodge, so I'm not too far away.
When I was about 13 or 14, my parents were asked to start living there and help take care of the place. The old man that owned the place had a strict don't even step out of the house when it gets dark policy that kinda threw us off. My dad asked him why, and he just told him there are things out there he can't handle or something along that line. I know this doesn't help any, but I just thought I'd share my dated experience.
I've seen the same thing here in Washington State as well. And no, I don't trip on cough syrup or any drugs. Anyways, to be specific, I was driving on State Route 18 heading to Tacoma at 2 a.m. last month. I worked the night shift cleaning restaurants. There were no cars, no street lights or anything. The only source of light was my car's headlights. As I was driving, I saw someone or something walking along the side of the freeway in the distance. At first, I thought someone's car broke down, but yet again, if there was the case, I would have noticed. As I got closer, I noticed it wasn't human at all. I thought it was Bigfoot because my state is known for Bigfoot sightings, but it was gray and it didn't have any hair either or any clothes. It wasn't skinny but rather thick. I'm stunned because it's something I never seen anything like that before. As I passed by, I decided to look back to see its face, but it was too dark to tell. The only glimpse I got were its eyes reflecting my car's taillights.
Holy fuck, OP. I swear on my mother's grave that I saw a gray humanoid dude outside. It turns out they are actually called moon weepers, and they usually appear in places where the moonlight presence is very powerful. Few people know about these creatures.
Tell us more about moonweepers, because from my perspective, these sound like the tall alien greys, or their hybrid.
OP, what you're experiencing sounds like a classic case of schizophrenia. Hallucinations, feelings of apprehension and/or anxiety. During and after these spells, likely triggered by the unusually high dopamine levels that are causing your condition. You've deluded yourself into thinking that this monster has to be confronted by you. In some hazy, misguided standoff, Ashley has been brought into the equation now. You should separate yourself from her as thoroughly and as quickly as possible. She's only feeding your delusion, and in doing so, she's putting you and herself at risk. In most of these cases, the creature that you are afraid of is most likely a manifestation of an aspect of your personality that you aren't able to cope with. I'm a psychology grad, and if you want to talk to more, I'll provide a throwaway email you can contact me at. In the meantime, please don't do anything extreme.
You mind posting a sketch of the thing? Still not completely convinced this isn't RP, but I will give you the benefit of the doubt to be on the safe side. If you're being serious, then I can ask someone I know about it.
You're probably dealing with some remaining escaped subjects from Fort Bragg a few years back. Help them, or tell them to leave you alone, Anon. They respond peacefully to peaceful intentions. They're very empathic. Approach them without fear or intent to harm and tell them what you feel you must. Whether that's helping them or telling them to leave you alone is up to you. I suggest the latter. You may get dragged into some pretty deep shit if you try to help them.
Source? Or just a legend passed from mouth to mouth?
All my public sources were taken down. Remember the mega uploads shut down? Silk Road being taken down? They were just the most visible of their respective operations. You'll have to do your own deep digging for that. My sources don't run too far upstream, but I know that something got out in mid-2011, someone leaked it, and that not everything was recovered. Take my word for it, or don't. Your choice. Just saying, bite off more than you can chew, and you're liable to choke.
Do you have any more info on the Fort Bragg things?
Military top-secret hush-hush genetic experimentation, flown into Pope for holding and observation at Bragg. Mechanical failure on a transport leads to escape of 20 to 30 individuals. From what I understand, no less than 23 were recaptured. The rest managed to flee to inner woods. No explicit reference to human genetics. No mention of age group. No mention of apparent sex. The single uncensored observation document reported high psychic awareness and ability to discern friend from foe on a fundamental level. If you help them, don't do it lightly. If you're not going to help them, tell them to flee. I doubt they're safe anymore.
Not being stupid, and not to sound like I am role-playing, but while I was in the Army, I heard of an operation that went wrong at Fort Bragg. No more details than what you just posted, but I heard this as well.
Can you say more about this? Like what unit you were a part of and such?
I was in an aviation unit. My job was classified, but it involved work with captains and majors and warrant officers, high-up people that I would have had no business being around. My job was to talk to helicopter and ground units from the TOC, or Tactical Operations Center. Anyways, there was a 2-star general at the TOC talking in hushed tones to the major who ran the TOC, mentioning something about one of them getting into Canada. I wasn't supposed to be listening, so I pretended not to. I was doing flight reports, but they sounded worried. Can't say when or where because my job was, as I said, classified, and I don't want the NSA stealing me away, but I was creeped out.
Hey/X/. It's Michael again. Does anyone remember this thread? It was from about a month ago. Unfortunately, I lost internet connection for a bit, and when I got it back, 4chan wouldn't let me post at all, so I couldn't reply. Not to mention, I listened to /X's advice and generally pussied out. I didn't go into the woods. I'm worried that I may hurt Ashley or Matt at this point. But after all this happened, I figured I'd kind of shrug it off. Hoped it was a hallucination or something. Maybe just sleep deprivation. It's not a hallucination. Ashley and Matt have both confirmed sightings of the man recently. Anyways, I saw him again just about an hour ago. Hour and a half at tops. This time he wasn't like he normally was. I was actually at Matt's house. He lives in the deep country, where everything is a trailer or a double wide, and double-barrel shotguns are common. This time the man was running like a dog, I guess you could say. He was hunched over on all fours and ran behind a woodpile. I could barely see him, but I could make out the figure. It was in his backyard while I was on the porch. I could only see it because his neighbor had a street light in his backyard. Hooray for rednecks. Anyways, me and Matt were just sitting on the porch and I saw it. Of course, I flipped the fuck out. Then a rock got thrown at us. It came maybe 3 feet from me. The rock was probably about 3 square inches. I honestly don't know if it tried to hit one of us or tried to get our attention. On top of all of this, one of my friends named Carl told me that he heard of something like the creature that I described, and they're most commonly sighted in the woods, tunnels, and around sewage systems. Anyways, /X/, does anyone live in North Carolina that's experienced anything like this? I'm starting to keep private video entries on my Windows XP computer with no internet in my bedroom.